Hey everybody, it's Alvin here. Today we're working on Proverbs 9 so that we can all be on the same track for when we teach on Proverbs 9 to our youth group. This is my first take of like recording this, and so there may be some like stutters and like missayings and stuff like that. Just want to let you know that this is very relaxed for me, very easy for me, and so that's what I want to remind you all. Again, the point for these videos is so that we can all learn together and be able to teach it well to our kids. And and so for this reason, these videos are designed to be more applicationable, be more applicable. It could be more learning how to like read the text, and so like while you're learning how to read the text with me, you can kind of like put that into your small groups. Again, I want to say that this is not some sort of high level exegesis with like incredible like word studies and syntax and like Hebrew like analysis. No, it's none of that. It's very much low key. This is my first reading of the text type idea. Now, of course, I have read this text much more than like this first time, and so you take heart in that this is not my first reading of Proverbs 9. So let's just begin. And on your screen, you'll see on the left, you'll see the Bible, the NIV Bible. And on the right, you'll see my commentary that I'm using. It's called the New American Commentary, that tackles both. It tackles Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Psalms. It's written by Dwayne Garrett. It's very devotional, very pastoral of a commentary, not difficult at all. If you want to read it while we're going through, by all means. But I'll be drawing from it here and there. Okay, let's. I'm going to read it, and then we'll just work through it. Cool. Wisdom has built her house. She has set up its 7 pillars. She has prepared her meat and mixed her wine. She has also set her table. She has sent out her servants, and she calls from the highest point of the city, "Let all who are simple come to my house." To those who have no sense, she says, "Come, eat my food and drink the wine I've mixed. Leave your simple ways, and you will live. Walk in the way of insight. Whoever corrects a mocker invites insult. Whoever rebukes the wicked incurs abuse. Do not rebuke mockers, or they will hate you. Rebuke the wise, and they will love you. Instruct the wise, and they will be wiser still. Teach the righteous, and they will add to their teaching. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. For through wisdom your days will be many, and years will be added to your life. If you are wise, your wisdom will reward you. If you are a mocker, you alone will suffer. Folly is an unruly woman. She is simple and knows nothing. She sits at the door of her house on the seat of the highest point of the city, calling out to those who pass by, who go straight on their way. Let all who are simple come to my house. To those who have no sense, she says, stolen water is sweet. Food eaten in secret is delicious, but little do they know that the dead are there and that her guests are deep in the realm of the dead. Cool. Those are the 18 verses of Proverbs 9. You can quite like clearly tell just by that reading that there are like basically 2 sections. The first section is the way of wisdom. Wisdom itself, and she's inviting people to her house. And she's setting up a banquet, and she's inviting all those who are simple. Hey, come and join. You'll get wisdom, and here is some wisdom. Right? And in contrast, there is the section of the woman. That is section on the unruly woman, the folly, woman folly. That's verse 13 through 18. Cool. So we have our sections. Verses 1 through 12 is wisdom, woman, woman, wisdom. And verse 13 to 18 is woman, folly, folly, woman. So let's just go through the first section. Okay. Verse 1, wisdom has built her house. She has set up its 7 pillars. This is, it's like as it says, wisdom has built her house and she has set up its 7 pillars. This 7 pillars can mean a couple things. It could be the pillars of a house, like, or a temple, but it's more likely than not a hearkening to like the creation account, the 7 days of creation. The way that I'm kind of interpreting this is from Proverbs 8. In Proverbs 8, verses 22 to 31, it's clear that wisdom is hearkened back to the creation account. This is what it says in Proverbs 8, verses 22 to 31. The Lord, that is Yahweh, brought me forth as the first of his works, before his deeds of old. I was formed long ages ago. Again, this is wisdom talking. I was formed long ages ago, at the very beginning, when the world became to be, when there was no watery depths, I was given birth, when there was no springs overflowing with water, before the mountains were settled in place, before the hills, I was given birth, before he made the world or its fields or any of the dust of the earth. I was there when he set the heavens in place, when he marked out the horizons over the face of the deep, when he established the clouds above and fixed securely the foundations of the deep, when he gave the sea its boundaries so the water would not overstep his command, and when he marked out the foundations of the earth. Then I was constantly at his side. I was filled with delight day after day, rejoicing always in his presence, rejoicing in his whole world and delighting in mankind. See, in Proverbs 9, the idea of the 7 pillars can hark back to the creation account of the fact that God had wisdom and created the created order with wisdom. God used wisdom. Right? Like God, it says that God possesses wisdom. In the ESV, it says in verse 22 of Proverbs 8, it says, the Lord possessed me at the beginning of his work. The Lord had wisdom. Right? And so it was through wisdom that the created order came to be. Right? And so in Proverbs 9, it's like, I've set up the 7 pillars. Right? I was there with God when he created the whole universe in 7 days. Right? And so that is kind of where wisdom is taking us. And she says, quote, no, this is the narrator. She has prepared her meat and mixed her wine, and she has also set her table. So here wisdom is preparing the banquet, the meat, the mixed wine. She set the table. Again, we're at the house. Wisdom has built her house, right? And so we're in wisdom's house, and she has prepared the meat, mixed her wine, and set her table, right? And so what has wisdom done? She has sent out her servants, and she calls from the highest point of the cities. Let all who are simple come to my house. To those who have no sense, she says, come eat my food and drink the wine I've mixed. Leave your simple ways and you will live. Walk in the way of insight. And so wisdom sends out her servants, right? And these servants are inviting people. These servants are going straight to the public, right? It's no secret where these servants are going. No, they're going straight to the highest point of the city where everybody can see them. Right? And these servants are calling out, look, you are simple. Whoever is simple, come to my house. Right? I have food. I have wine. Right? The table is set up. Come and leave your simple ways and you will live. Walk in the way of insight. Right? So wisdom is like correcting people. Like, look, come. It's not really correcting right now. It's more like inviting. Right? Wisdom is inviting everybody to come in. Right? And so now in verse 7, there is some wisdom, right? Like, what does wisdom have to say, right? We're in the banquet. We're in wisdom's house, We have the food, we have the wine, we have the table, right? We got invited, we're in this house. Okay, what is some wisdom? Drop down some wisdom. Verse 7. Whoever corrects a mocker invites insult. Whoever rebukes the wicked incur abuse. Do not rebuke mockers or they will hate you. Right? So here the idea is, look, there are some people who are just so dumb, so ignorant, so stupid and set in their ways that even if you try to change them, even if you have wisdom and wants to share wisdom, some people will just not get it. Right? And in fact, you'll actually get hurt by it. Right? I remember my dad has taught me a couple things about these things. My dad has taught me this. He told me, Alvin, do not argue with some people. There are four types of people that you should not argue with. And I heard that. I remember hearing this. I said, number one, he said, do not argue with people who have authority, right? That is judges, police, bosses, all that stuff, right? People who have that authority. Now, let me give you the context of this. I am my parents are Asian, right? I'm Asian. And so the idea that you just keep your head down is very much ingrained in these values. So just letting you know that. The second types of people that you should not argue with is people who have academic power, right? Again, this shows the Asianness of we really like school, professors, teachers, they don't actually have power like judges or police have, right? But they still yield power in other ways, right? They're the graders. They're the one that teaches. They're the ones that sets the tone. And so don't argue with them, right? So the group 3 and 4 are the ones that are relevant to Proverbs 9. My dad says this: do not argue with smart people. When you argue with smart people, right, you'll get crushed, right? They're smarter than you. They're better than you. And he says number 4, don't argue with people who are dumber than you. Why? Because dumber people don't know that they're wrong. And so they'll never listen to a word of anybody who's wise. The same thing in Proverbs 9. Whoever corrects a mocker invites insult. Whoever rebukes the wicked incurs abuse. So therefore, do not rebuke mockers or they will hate you. Right? Don't argue with dumb people. Don't correct a dumb person. A dumb person will not get it. Right? There are some people who are just so stuck up in their ways that even if you try to help, they will not get it. Right? I remember a time I was working for a RA event, right? And we were planning this event, right? One time one of my coworkers came up to me and said, "Hey, Alvin, actually, never mind. Forget that. We're not sharing that story. There is no story there. You can really tell that this is not planned because I was going to go with the story, but there is no story. But draw some applications from this. Verse 7, draw some applications. Verse 8, draw some applications. Right? Cool. It continues and it says, rebuke the wise and they will love you. Instruct the wise and they will be wiser still. Teach the righteous and they will add to their learning. Right? So here it's a direct contrast with the mockers, right? When you correct a mocker, they'll insult you. But if you correct the wise, they will love you. They will care for you. They will enjoy your wisdom. They will add to their learning because they're righteous. They're wise. They understand that they can still be wrong. They understand that they can still need teaching. And so they become teachable, right? This is one of those things where you are in a job application, right? And one of the things it says on the job application is to be teachable, right? Essentially, what that is calling is be wise, right? Know that you don't know everything, right? There's something called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where people who are starting off at a new skill will think that they are super great at it, super like 100% great at what they're doing, and then as soon as but the reality is that they're not actually good at what they're doing, right? But the reality is once they continue learning, they realize that they actually don't know that much, and so your perception of how good you think you are begins to equalize then, right? But the fact is that people who don't know, like how far deep they're in, like tends to overcompensate. Let me give you an example. I'm a chess player. I love playing chess. And so in chess, there is openings. There are different ways, methods of playing your opening pieces. How do you even begin to play the game? Right, and so I was watching these videos, right? I was watching these videos that show you, oh, you can move your piece here and it'll protect all these things. And if you move it here and there and this and that, you'll have a great position, right? And so I was learning all these openings. I was learning 4 or 5 different openings for white and the black pieces. And I begin to think, oh, I can beat anybody. It comes to find out that my chess rating, is actually very low, very not good actually. And so I begin to realize that even though I learned these openings, I have much more to learn about chess than just how to make some pre-moves like that I've learned from some videos in 10 minutes, right? In fact, there are much more things to chess, but as soon as I continue to learn and grow, I understand that I am still not smart enough for this, but I'm going to still learn. See, that is a wise person, right? Somebody who understands that they can still learn and needs to learn and wants to learn. Somebody who's not thinking, somebody who thinks that they know it all will hates knowledge, right? Okay, let me continue so that we can keep going on. Verse 10, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. Now again, this harks back to verses 7 in chapter 1. It says this, in chapter 1, verse 7, it says this, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, fools despise wisdom and understanding. See, this implicitly rejects secular or atheistic ethics. Rather, like, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, not any philosophical idea. Yeah, you can make this or that or those type of ethics. Yeah, you can have a worldly perception of what is good and right. That, oh, like you can have the postmodernist view of like, oh, you can have your truth, I can have my truth. What is true for you? What is true for me? We can all have our different truths. No. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. In other words, in order to be wise, in order to have understanding, you have to have the fear of the Lord. What does that mean? It's you have to trust God, right? When God says, look, when the Bible says, do not rebuke mockers or they will hate you, take that and say, oh, I will not rebuke mockers now because they're going to hate me. Rather, I should rebuke the wise. Like it tells us, here is the fear of the Lord, right? How do I do the fear of the Lord? It's right there. Verse 7, verse 8, verse 9. This is what you do, right? Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't rebuke mockers because they'll hate you. Rather, you should rebuke the wise because they will love you, right? That is wisdom right there. Right? And so when it says the fear of the Lord is beginning wisdom, here is the wisdom. Right? Right? Okay. And so here's the promise. Right? Promise is verse 11, for through wisdom your days will be many, and your years will be added to your life. The promise is, look, you will have many days. You'll live long. You'll be alive. Right? And so that is the promise of life. And all we need to do, what is the responsibility that we all have? Verse 12, if you're wise, your wisdom will reward you. If you're a mocker, you alone will suffer. The idea is be wise then. Be wise, because your wisdom will reward you. If you're a mocker, no, you will suffer. You won't have the many years, you won't have the many days that verse 11 promises. Now we move on to verse 13 to 18, the woman folly woman, right? And this is held in stark contrast with the woman wisdom, and in fact parallels the adulterous woman, right? It says this, verse 13, folly is an unruly woman. She is simple and knows nothing. Right? She sits at the door of her house and on the seat of the highest point of the city, calling out to those who pass by, who go straight to their way. Right? So here's the setting. Folly. We are introduced to a woman named Folly. Right? She is folly. She is dumb. She's ignorance. She is arrogance, unteachability. She is idiot. She's an idiot. She doesn't know anything. Right? She's simple. Right? And what is she doing? She's at the door of her house, right? So we're at a house now. And she's at the highest point of the city. And she's calling out, hey, if you're stupid, come to my house. Right? If you don't have any sense, come to my house. Come to my house. Come to my house. This is exactly what wisdom is saying. The wisdom is like, hey, I'm at my house. I'm bringing out my servants. Servants, hey, come. Like, and she's telling their servants, go get people, and the servants are calling out to the highest point of the city, hey, come to me, right? And so verse 13 and 14 and 15, the calling out to those who pass by, somewhat has a parallel to the prostitute in the past chapters, in which in which the prostitute and the adulterous woman is like bringing and seducing people in, and just like in Proverbs 7. So here we go in Proverbs 9, we have the woman folly, who's bringing in, enticing stupid people to come by her house. Right? And what is woman folly saying? She's saying this: let all who are simple come to my house. To those who have no sense, she says, stolen water is sweet. Food eaten in secret is delicious. Right? Look, I have food. I have water. But the fact is that this stolen water is not sweet. She claims it's sweet, but it's really not. Right? Here we have an interpretive problem. Not an interpretive problem, but we don't know what is stolen water. Some will suggest that stolen water and food in secret is just water that is stolen and food that is eaten in secret. But there can be much more than this. Stolen water can hark back to Proverbs 5:15 through 18. It says this: drink water from your own cistern, flowing water from your own well. Should your springs be scattered abroad, streams of water in secret, let no one be for yourself alone, and not for strangers be with you. Let your fountain be blessed, and rejoice in the wife of youth. In a way, the stolen waters could be sexual relations described in the metaphor of drinking water, and thus is another man's wife. The food eaten in secret, it says stolen water is sweet. Food eaten in secret is delicious. The food eaten in secret is literally translated to, quote, bread of secrecy. And it refers to criminal conspiracies that tempt young men with easy money. Right? Proverbs 4, verse 17 is very explicit about this. It says, do not eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence. Right? And the people who do this are the wicked, the evil ones. Right? And so this is what woman folly is tempting us with. Like, hey, have some stolen water, have some food eaten in secret, you know. But the narrator jumps in and says this, actually. But little do they know that the dead are in there, right? The dead, meaning the dead people who are stupid. They are alive physically, but they are dead. You can count them as dead, right? They are in her house, the folly's house. and that her guests are deep in the realm of the dead. The realm of the dead, Sheol, right? That's where suffering is, deadness is. It's for wicked, where wicked people go, right? That's her guest. Her guests are actually there. There is no sweet banquet. There is no mixed wine, no meat. No, rather, no. She is in the realm of the dead, and all her guests are going to the realm of the dead. Everybody who goes there are dead, right? This has a lot of applications for our youth today, right? There is ideas of temptation, that there are things that look good, look sweet, looks delicious, but in reality are actually terrible things, right? We may like, here's an example of something that looks good but actually is terrible, right? The easiest thing is like pornography, right? It looks great. Oh, I'm horny. In reality, it spreads you off into addiction. You can talk about drugs. Oh, this hits high. This hits me well. Oh, but now you've gotten into nicotine addiction, right? We don't even need to do this. We can go into more. We don't need to talk about pornography or drugs to talk about this. We can talk about other more sinister things. It's like a girl who is exercising, and she's like, yeah, I love exercising, but she exercises so much so that it actually that it might be a warning sign that she has an eating disorder and maybe insecure about her weight, and so now she is burning all of her weight, all of her body, so that she begin to look disfigured. I'm not saying this out of condemnation. In fact, I actually struggle with a lot of problems with weight, a lot of problems with that. I say this because it may look deceiving, may look good, but it's really not, right? Yeah, people can cheat on their exams, people can cheat on their homework, yeah, but it's not going to end up well, right? Rather, be in the house of wisdom, right? Wisdom is the one that has the good food. She has the wine, right? That is what actually is good, right? And what is wisdom offering? She's saying, hey, here's some wisdom. Don't correct a mocker. Don't correct a mocker, because when you correct a mocker, they're gonna insult you, they're gonna abuse you, they will hate you, right? Rather, you should instruct the wise, rebuke the wise, teach the righteous, right? The idea is that you're friends with the righteous. You're close with the righteous. You're close with them. You can associate with them well, right? Be associated with them. Don't be associated with mockers, right? And ultimately, how do you get this wisdom? You have the fear of the Lord, right? You have the fear of the Lord. The fear of the Lord is often hard to understand, because how do you even begin to apply that? How do you have fear of the Lord? Here are some situations, right? I was out with a couple of friends. This is like 2020. This is when COVID was happening. It was in the summer. I was at Biola, or maybe 2020. Yeah, it's 2020. In August, I was at Biola, but not online. But I had a lot of secular friends, and so we were going out to the beach one day, and they brought a nicotine. They brought a vape pen. So they started hitting it. They started smoking it, vaping it, and they offered to me, Alvin, do you want one? No. I rejected, and I said, no, it's okay, thank you though. But the idea here is that I had the fear of the Lord. I wondered if that was going to be sin. If I took a hit of this, was I going to be sinning? And I concluded to myself, yes, I would. Why? Because it's going to inebriate me. It's going to change me. I'm the one who's, and more than that, there may be consequences, right? I was going to be driving, and now I'm going to have a drug running through me. Well, who knows? What if I take it I might like it, and I become like addicted, right? That's the fear of the Lord, right? It's wondering, is this sin? Is this bad? Is this going to harm me? Is this going to hurt me? That is the fear of the Lord. That's the beginning of wisdom, right? And in that situation, I was wise enough and said, I'm okay, thank you, right? I'm okay, thank you. You can keep it, right? And yeah, I could have rebuked them and said, "Oh, no, you should not do that. It's not good for you." But the scripture says, "Don't rebuke mockers, or they'll hate you. Don't rebuke the wicked, because they'll incur abuse. Don't correct a mocker, because you'll invite insults." And that was certainly true at that moment. Yeah, I could have said, "Yeah, you shouldn't be doing that." But guess what? What result was that going to gain me? They were just going to abuse me and hate me. So what else could I do? Right? That's the fear of the Lord. I don't want to keep this going any longer. If you have found this helpful, and if you have any more questions, please talk to me. Right? Like, I love talking about the scripture. It's clear that I'm passionate about the scripture. And so if you have any more questions, talk to me. But I hope this has been helpful. So, yeah. See y'all.